Hello, everyone. Excited to be here. I am here with Stephen Moyes, who's a senior product manager at Amazon. Stephen, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thanks, Chris.
I thought we could start today. We really want to talk about, really want to hear from a product perspective. Tell us a little bit about your role, and I also just like what you've been doing the past couple of years.
I've been participating in these sessions for a couple years now, and you might have seen my face representing Microsoft and React Native for desktop. That's what I've been doing for the last couple of years. But over this year, I made the switch actually to Amazon, and I've been working on bringing React Native to the constellation of Amazon devices, which has been quite an adventure.
So I have actually seen a couple of your talks in the past where you were talking about React Native for Mac, and you were doing product for React Native for Windows as well.
That's right.
And I'm curious of what is the experience like building React Native for desktop apps compared to now building for devices such as Fire TV? Like what's similar, and maybe what did you not realize would be different? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, when you think about bringing your app from mobile to larger screens, whether that's on desktop or whether that's on TV, there's a whole bunch of different things you have to think about. There's different ways of interacting with these different form factors that you have to keep in mind. And one of the things that I think is similar between desktop and television is you've got more screen real estate. You have more space in which you can display information, and the content density is different on these larger screens. But one of the things that's different is that on a desktop, you're probably like actively using it. Whereas at a TV, or when you're interacting with a TV, it's more of like a lean back sort of experience. And so even though both are on large screens, you have to keep in mind just the different ways that your users are going to interact with your apps.
To that point, interacting on a desktop app with a keyboard and mouse, wildly different than what, like a remote control?
Yeah,
Down, left, right.
it's very different. Yeah.
As a product manager, how are you working with the engineers on your team, right? And so what is the, when you think about new features, where you think about gathering feedback, how does that kind of work, whether it's desktop or whether it's for Fire TV? Like, how do you kind of think about that relationship with your dev team, and what makes a good combination to build products?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'm uniquely fortunate in this position where I can work on developer platforms. And so when we think about who our customers are, they're also developers.
Mhm.
And it's really important that you're able to speak from a product perspective with your developer in mind, with your end
Right.
customer in mind. And one of the biggest things that I would suggest is that it's important to have a rapport with your engineering counterparts, and show that you're not just talk, that you can actually do. And the role of product is to represent the end user. And when your end users are developers, it's really important that you speak the same language,
Right.
or I mean, have the same terminology, have the same sort of you know uh, ability to communicate with your engineering counterparts.
So you talked a little bit about building in C++, talked about Windows RT. I was curious, both for React Native for Mac and Windows, which you used to lead on the product side
That's right.
with the team over there, and now for building with React Native for Fire TVs. How much do you encourage developers to utilize things like turbo modules or nitro modules? Like, the whole beauty of React Native being you can go native, and you should go native when it makes sense, and especially on performance. What are some of the kind of lessons and suggestions you'd give developers building for desktop? And are they similar? Are they different for developers trying to build a performant app for like a Fire TV or a device like that?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, what is it sounds a little corny, but what is React Native? Like fundamentally, what is React Native? It's React and it's native.
Yeah.
And the superpower, I think, of React Native is the ability to drop down into native when it makes sense, when you have a desire to harness unique capabilities of the device that you're targeting, for example, or when you're trying to build really lightning fast experiences that are really close to the metal. Like, the native aspect of React Native is so unique and so powerful. And that's true across both desktop and television. But I will say that from a television perspective, performance is even more important. Earlier, you asked, what are some of the considerations or differences between desktop and television? And when you're developing for TV, you have to understand that the TV hardware, it's much more constrained.
It's not a full-on laptop.
It's not a full-on laptop. You can't just, shove in another 16 gigs of RAM
Right.
into your television. That is one of the big differences, I think, between desktop and television, is really focusing on the importance of building high-performant apps. And at Amazon, we know that. Like,
Yeah.
at Amazon, we know how important it is to build really performant experiences. It's something that we've really tried to emphasize in the React Native ecosystem, is the importance of building high performant experiences.
And then that means you'd probably would be recommending folks using turbo modules or nitro modules more to get into that native layer.
It doesn't always make sense. Like, sometimes you can stay in the JavaScript layer, and actually you can get a lot of, you can build really great experiences that just stay in the JavaScript layer. But yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, the benefit of React Native is the ability to drop down to native to build high performant experience.
And I guess another aspect is probably what's your perspective on code reusability? I'm assuming both for React Native for desktop and for Fire TV, like there's probably common systems and services that developers might want to just be able to reuse across form factors.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a number of ways to build your app. You can create an app that uses a shared code base across mobile and desktop and television, across, certain devices and form factors, including web, or you can always build bespoke experiences per platform. But I think it's useful to have the ability to do one or the other.
I know obviously in the C# world or in the .NET MAUI world, also in Fire TV, like Android purists, you will have those React Native haters that are saying you should always build native for every single platform, kind of get really incensed about the idea of write once, build anywhere. And so what would you kind of say to those folks that honestly probably have not actually tried React Native, have not actually built an app in React Native? What would be your recommendation to someone getting started with the value prop of like building an app and then building it for different endpoints?
I see. Yeah, I think it's really React Native has never been a write once, run anywhere sort of technology, and I think you can look at this through two different lenses. One lens is starting from the native purist sort of side. I think especially our friends who are iOS developers have big feelings and a lot of passion.
Swift and nothing else.
Yeah. And so I think, if you're coming from a native background, and that's, at Microsoft, where I was coming from was from this native background, I think it's really interesting to see how React Native allows you to have unfettered access to all of the native capabilities that you would expect if you were coming purely from native. But on the other side of the house, you have people coming from web, you have people coming from a React background. And so React Native, like I said, is kind of this in between, where you can be a native dev and be really successful with React Native, or you can be a React dev and be really successful with React Native and build an experience that is native across all of these different form factors. And so I guess to those people, the short answer would be give it a try. Give it a try.
Yeah.
This year at React Universe Conf, one of the primary themes is the stability of React Native. I think people in the React Native ecosystem and probably outside have some understanding around React Native as a name has some baggage. Some people have expectations that have been built over years and years and years.
On very early versions of React Native
Right.
probably as well.
Right. But this year, I think more than ever, the focus is on stability. The focus is on creating experiences that run at scale across form factors, across device types. And so, whether you're coming from a native background or a web background, I think this is the year to try it. I think React Native is it's only going up from here.
Let's talk to a previous Stephen Moyes, junior product person from the past.
Mhm.
What would you tell a previous version of yourself, or what would you tell an up and coming product manager? What advice would you give them to be the best partner possible to their developer and designer counterparts? What do you think from your experience really helps that collaboration when it comes to building great products, whether that's React Native or any framework? Any advice you'd have for folks that are kind of coming into your space?
I mean, when I made the transition from a developer to a product manager, I think one of the things that kind of set me apart was the ability to communicate effectively to my developer counterparts. Like I had that street cred
Yeah.
already. And not all product managers have that. Some product managers come from different backgrounds, and that's awesome too. And I think this AI generation, this AI wave is empowering product managers more than ever to build and
Yeah.
create in a way that has been inaccessible to PMs for a very, very long time. And so to the up and coming product managers, I would say, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and kick the tires and try things out. At the same time, it's always important for product managers to focus on, the why. Why are we building this?
Yep.
What do users need? How do we, really meet the needs of our users? I think our developer friends are also very focused on building awesome things that help meet those user needs. And um, it's important to sort of meet in the middle. And
Yeah, I like that.
yeah,
I like that a lot. All right. So I think to wrap things up, I really want to thank you for the time to chat. I'm really excited about the things that you're building. Of course, we get to work together a lot.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, thanks for your time.
totally. Thanks, Chris.